So it's finally time to talk about the ultimate Windows 98 machine, or at least my take on it. This is it. It's been through a few iterations at this point with this hardware, but I think I'm ready to finally talk about it because we've finally settled on where this is going to be. So this started out as a Dimension 4100, and I really got bitten by wanting to do a PC thing, and I put out feelers and tried to get better parts, and eventually ended up settling on what I thought was going to be the final iteration of the Windows 98 machine, which was a Tualatin-based Pentium 3, specifically the Pentium 3S with double the cache, and that was pretty good for a bit, and that was actually going to go to VCF this year. Things kind of changed when a friend of mine, who was also the co-exhibitor I worked with this year, saw an Alienware machine at eWaste and asked me to buy it on his behalf because he couldn't be there. Turns out it had a bunch of components in it. I paid a little more than I usually do for things at eWaste, but it turned out to be very worth it. All he wanted was the case, and I got all the innards, and all the innards pretty much ended up over here in this machine. So at VCF this year, you may have already seen this machine, kind of, because at first I had the Windows Vista build in this machine, but I decided that I think I like the Windows 98 build in this case more, so now the Windows 98 build is in this case, and my Windows Vista build is, as you guys have seen from the previous video, the XPS 730. So what is this case before we get into the innards? And I'm told this is a NVIDIA trade show case. It is a Cooler Master Praetorian, at least that's what it says on the front. And the only thing I can see that's different is that it has a side panel with NVIDIA's slogan and old logo etched into it. I don't know if this is a case that was offered for general purpose or if it was only for NVIDIA internal use, but a friend gave me this case and said I could do whatever I want with it. And it had a little bit of rust here and there, but I was able to mostly clean it up and get it back to working shape. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. The other side wasn't so great though, and we'll show that off very quick here. Here's the other side of the case, and some people had some fun sticking some stickers on here, but I've mostly decided I wanted to sticker bomb this side of the case because, as you can probably see, it is a bit scratched up. The worst of it is hidden under the stickers, but I figured I would make this a VCF box, and by that I mean all the stickers I'm getting from VCFs will go on here and kind of make a little bit of a memory here. So it's pretty cool, pretty nice way to use a side panel that I believe is replaceable, because from what I understand, Cooler Master made a line of these cases, and I'm going to assume the back panel here, or side panel, is interchangeable between all of those. I've already seen a few people in the retro discords that I'm in have similar cases, and I'm sure I could steal a side panel off of an otherwise junk case to put on here, but this gives it a little more personality and a little more fun. Let's turn around to the front. I can't really fit it all in frame here, at least not without moving the camera, but from the top, we've got a IDE DVD CD RW drive. Like that I have one that works in here because those are kind of getting harder and harder to find in working condition. 2 blank slots. I do want to get an Audigy 2ZS front panel for this because that is the sound card I have in here, spoiler alert, but those seem to be really hard to find for a price that I can pay, so for now we're just going to go without. Down here at the bottom we have a Blue SCSI V2, which I use for optical drive emulation. I would use it for running operating systems and to install operating systems, but unfortunately, for some reason, I've never been able to get the Blue SCSI to work quite right in that regard. So all it does is really act as an optical drive emulator for the games that require CDs, because Daemon Tools has not been super great to me under Windows 98, so I don't really want to run that if I can avoid it. In the 3.5-inch bays, we have a floppy drive with a black bezel, which I really need to find another one of these for the XPS 730, but alas, right here, it's fine. I like the black with the silver. Below that, we have one of the favorite things I like to put in my retro machines that have SATA capability, and that is a quick swap bay for quickly swapping OS drives. So in this case, if I was feeling like 98 for a good example, slot that in, boom, 98 machine. I want something a little more stable, but still kind of in that aesthetic. Windows 2000, there we go. Very handy to be able to just bounce between OSs. And in fact, this system was running Longhorn Beta because it has the perfect hardware for that. So that was a very fun thing to have going at VCF this year. Below all that, we just have standard PC components here. Well, kind of. I have the Graphics by NVIDIA sticker that I got from Geek and Spiel. Got a power button, reset button, activity, power, USB, Firewire, audio in and audio out, and the front intake, which does its job. That said, let's turn this case around and look at the back. Something I can't really mention, well, at least look at without turning this case upside down, is that it came with only one of its feet still intact, so I was able to 3D print a replacement set and put some felt on them so this doesn't scrape surfaces that it glides across, which is very awesome. So I have I believe a 600 watt power supply. I could be wrong. Very period correct, and it seems to be a very well regarded power supply, and it works very, very nicely. So I kept it in here and having a good time with it. We have the connectors on the motherboard. So we have PS2, parallel, and serial. As UXW Bill would probably say, this is a real computer. I mean, of course, it was made in the mid 2000s. Below that, video card, the Audigy 2ZS I mentioned, and the AHA 2940UW SCSI card from Adaptec. So let's open this machine up and take a look inside. So there is a lot going on in here. So I have 1 gig of DDR RAM, and I have that patched up with Rudolph Lowe's patches, which, rest in peace, he wrote some great stuff for Windows 98 to get it to sing on more modern hardware. But I wanted to use that RAM in particular because it has the requisite mid-2000s heat sinks, so this is more of a gamer PC. The motherboard is a Intel D875 PBZ, which it's kind of a whatever board, but it is pretty damn reliable in my experience, and it gets the job done for what I'm trying to do with this machine. It also has native SATA on it, which is quite nice and easy to get working with Windows 98. Took me a few trial and error situations, but I eventually got it working. The CPU, as you could probably see, is a socket 478 CPU, and we are running a 3.2 gigahertz Pentium 4 Northwood in here. And I would like to get a 3.4 in here at some point, but those aren't the most common things from what I've found. And for 200 megahertz more, given the grand scheme of things, is it really worth it? I mean, if one happens across my lap one day, I'll put it in here, but for right now, I'm plenty happy with what we have in here now. I've also got an 80mm Noctua kind of grafted to it with a 3D printed adapter, so it's actually quiet. The stock fan for the Pentium 4 that was on here was very loud and clearly suffering from bearing failure, so good to get that thing out of here, and this fan has kept it more than cool enough. Below all that, going down to the cards, you may or may not have seen something that caught your eye. It was something that was definitely pointed out when I bought the machine that this all came in, and it is a NVIDIA FX 5950 Ultra. Yeah, this card is not cheap. It's one of the better FX cards, I think the best FX card, pardon me, and it is worth a pretty penny if you look on eBay, and I got this for a hell of a deal, and I'm very glad that all it really needed was a cleaning out and a repasting, and it's good to go from here on out. So that's been serviced, it works great. The fan is just a little bit noisy, but going down from that, we have the Audigy 2ZS that I mentioned, and then below that, we have the aforementioned AHA 2940UW SCSI card. And another thing that I love about this board is I was able to leave out the SATA card because it has native SATA, and I was able to leave out my network card because it has native gigabit networking, because also my gigabit network card that works with Windows 98 gave up. So it was either 10100 or bust, and well, I'm glad to now have native gigabit on the motherboard without having to sacrifice a slot for it. I also bought a Noctua Redux fan for the back, and that was kind of not intentional. I bought that for the cube originally, but I was a dum-dum and did not take measurements, so it ended up in here because, well, it fits in here, but it does not fit in the cube. I ended up getting the proper fan for the cube, and now it's happy, but hey, now I can make the system even just a little bit more quiet. For drives, like I've said from the outside, we have all those fun drives, but I do have a 1 terabyte hard drive split between FAT32 and NTFS for Windows XP, Windows 2000, and Windows 98 to kind of have their own stores. I could just do it all FAT32, but 500 gigs is more than enough for these old operating systems, if we're perfectly honest. We also do have LEDs, but you won't see those until we power it up. Without much more to say about the innards, let's go ahead and put this thing back together and fire it up, get it connected. Alright, it's still kind of daytime out, so it's not going to be the best, but it'll be enough to get the point across. Turn it on. Oh yeah, green, just like Jensen would want it. Okay, this is the world's crappiest test monitor, so pardon the video quality, but let's go ahead and put a Windows 98 SSD in here and get running. Oh, that video card fan sounds awful. I know you guys probably can't hear it because this mic does do a decent job at cutting out the noise, but can't wait to hopefully figure out a way to make that quieter. Don't have an SD card in there at the moment, so it's not going to load anything. And yeah, this is kind of scary at first because it changes the boot order if you swap drives. It goes by the drive identifier for boot order, not like where it is in the chain, so to speak. So right now it's trying to look at the hard drive when there's nothing on there. But if I hit a key, boom, it'll go to the next in the chain and there's Windows 98. Windows 98 is taking a concerningly long time to boot. I'm not worried if it breaks because I have this system fully backed up, but there it goes. Found the TV. It has not found my mouse, so hit the keyboard and hope it finds it eventually. Yeah, we hooked it up right. So this was the system I was using at VCF, and you can kind of tell because I have the PDF here of like, when this machine boots, it's supposed to pop it up and be like, hey, here's all the stuff you can do on this machine. Also, you can tell that this TV struggles with overscan, and that's kind of what I meant by this TV being kind of junk. I really need to replace this with something better, but that'll come in due time. So we do have some games on here, more than the XPS 730, thankfully. So let's give this the same test we gave the XPS 730. I seem to have uninstalled 3D Mark for VCF, so it's not on here, but try UT and see what happens. Thankfully, UT 2004 doesn't want its disk in the drive, so it should just fire up and work. There we go. We are in the game. So settings, everything's kind of middle of the ground here. So let's go ahead and go back. We aren't getting the announcer holy shit this time. I'm going to throw out this very same test that I threw the XPS 730, AS Convoy. We're just going to spectate. This isn't going to run great from what I remember. And I know it's been a minute since I've had this machine out. It's playable. It's good enough for the time. Sometimes easy to forget that 60 FPS was really God mode hardware at the time. 30 FPS was more of the target. So if you got 30, you were still rolling pretty good. Issue stat FPS to get our FPS. And as you can see, we are well over 30, so I would say we're doing pretty good considering this machine. This might run better in XP, but not going to deal with that right now. Yeah, given the settings, I mean, I would say this is perfectly playable. More so playable than anything I had during this time.
The forward weapon cache has been stolen.
But UT 2004 really does represent the worst case scenario for me here because most of the games I would be playing on here are going to be something like, oh, say Quake 3. So let's fire up Quake 3 and see how that does. I'm just gonna steal LGR's CD key here and we will do a demo. As you can see, no match for Quake 3. It runs great. I think we get the point. As you can see, it doesn't even know what the hell we're on because this system is way too new for Windows 98. But you can see we do have the 1 gig of RAM, and it is running perfectly fine, again, thanks to Rudolph Lowe's patches, in this case, PatchMem. It allows Windows 98 to work where it normally wouldn't because I have tried to run Windows 98 and 1 gig of RAM without any patches, and it just blew up in my face. So, very nice to see this working as it should with 1 gig of RAM. This isn't really the whole story here. Windows 98 is great, but again, I built this system to do fun stuff, like swapping OSs. So in this case, what we're going to do is I'm going to swap in Windows XP, and we will get to see Windows XP Service Pack 1, because I didn't want to take any of the updates. I wanted to see Windows XP as it was originally. I mean, there's Service Pack 0, I guess, but Service Pack 1 is kind of as old as I would like to comfortably go on this system. So let's give her another boot. Once again, because it's going on drive identifiers, it is looking at the hard drive first, and if we hit the key again, there's Windows XP, and you can tell we're on SP1 because it lists the edition. Beautiful. So there's AOL Instant Messenger, because yeah, we were playing around with that at VCF. It was quite fun. Sadly, as Windows XP does, it is here. It's trying to find my optical mouse. The video is very low quality because again, this TV is very dumb in that it will tell things connected to it. It is fully capable of 1080p, but in fact, it is only a 720p television. So just looks like garbage, and we can make it a little bit better, but again, it still struggles with overscan quite a lot. So yeah, we have UT 2004 here. I can run that pretty quickly. We're also on the internet, and everybody's gonna run to the comments and be like, oh my god, Exodium, you can't have that on the internet. You're going to blow up. Oh my god. Anyway, let's go ahead and run Unreal Tournament 2004, since it's kind of just sitting there begging to be run. So we'll go back to settings. It's probably going to run better because I have everything set to normal, but I do have the resolution cranked up a little bit more. So let's see what happens. This is not meant to be scientific by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, we're kind of dipping down. It might also be because of the resolution change, but yeah, we're still staying above 30 for the most part, so I would say this is still okay. And yeah, I mean, that's really the 98 PC for you. It runs XP, it runs 2000. If I had the SSD, it would run Longhorn too, but I don't, unfortunately. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out this video here. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.